don't hit me stirrup.
Don't let her follow behind the others. You're near the track now. Go on, use that right leg hard on her. That's it, now trot off. Circle. Circle, Danny. Right, bring her down to the bottom. Now to canter. Sitting, canter now.
He emptied it last time in the beer.
Emptied it.
Emptied it. So you don't get it this time.
I didn't have enough first. Well, you got your
Yeah,
medicine bottle.
yeah.
Well, you got your medicine bottle.
Yeah.
Nice close up.
You need much closer.
Okay. Just give it a nice close up. We just bit the lens off.
Be greedy. He'll wait your turn. That'll do for now. Got another one? plenty of champions, hundreds of champions. So
What have I got in here?
plenty of trouble.
I'll see how I get on. If I get desperate,
Plenty of champions.
let's see. Have you? Could I have 5 pairs worth of change? That would be simple, and I can take it straight back out, can't I?
All those.
Really say that? Right. I will go and sort myself out.
Walk on then. Walk on, boys. Come on, Royal. Wait, get up. Get up. Go on.
Back.
Yeah, they sell cheeseburgers and hamburgers at the first ride.
Hey Mark, you go with it.
Don't?
Never like that.
Don't they? Right up.
Because if they happen to, I don't say they will, but if they do, you'll never get your hands out.
No, I'd stop them
On
now.
any
Yeah,
horse,
yeah,
any horse, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
what you want to do is just double your reins up like that.
Yeah,
If you want it shorter,
yeah. Okay, okay,
put half
okay.
on weight on full
Yeah,
weight.
I got it. Now if they the boat away, let them
Yeah,
go. Yeah.
well, don't let them go, but at least you can get your hands
That's
out.
right, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Right.
Come here then, Ken. Come here.
Wait, you're going round this way.
Come here. Come here, Kenny.
Oh.
Ken. Come here.
You're going round this way.
Whoop,
Go on round.
Come on.
Go on round.
Bring him back. Bring him back.
Go on round.
Steady, steady.
Steady.
Go the other way. Steady, Ben.
I got it.
and I hope you have a lovely day. For those who are interested, especially the children, we're now giving car rides around the field at 50 pence a time.
Dad?
You've got a pony to ride?
Yeah.
You have.
Good boy. Just stay too late. Back. Right? Good boy. Good lad.
Call us, she'll turn to you.
All you got to do now is keep.
Go on then. Ben, Ben. Get on, Ben. Ben.
Yes? It was alright. I done quite well. Could have been a lot better. Good chat, Mister.
Down for like
You'll have to
sausages
start.
tonight. I
You'll have
thought
to
about
start.
everything else.
I've still got it, but.
Quite good to say. Oh, do you want one of these? Try one of these with the yogurt on. Still not with yogurt. Only ladies like this. Terrible.
There's one already started, it's not.
All right, Robert, so don't worry, all right? And Laura, apart from you falling off, curling up laughing, then falling off as well, wow. Okay? Just got to try to keep your heels down. And when you're rising, don't sit, yes? It's a up, down, up, down, up, down. What's it? Up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down. Yes? Positive, up, down, yes? And a few more little jumps and things. You've done jumps with the net. Did you fall off? Oh dear. Okay. Well, next time we do some cantering, but I wanted to concentrate on your trot work because you're okay. You've done a lot of it. Okay. It's the other two, especially without stirrups. Your legs come shooting forward. Yeah, where they need to come back. Okay? And you just tend to bring your knees up and, oh God, I'm going to fall off. And then you came off. Alright, so just keep your legs down and in the correct position. Don't bring your legs forward and don't have your legs too far back. Alright, just allow your leg to hang down and to you to hold on and lean back. That way, there's no way you can fall off. Right? But otherwise, well done everyone. Good. Very pleased. Okay, and the whole ride, prepare to dismount. short legs. Okay, what you do, you've got 3 leathers. This one, 2, 3. Take the first 2, roll it right up. Yes, goes off the back of that. Put the leathers in the other hand, hold that, and then under. Okay? Right, so let me just untwist the other one, and then you do it. Go then, if I hold him, you come and do your stirrup. That's it, right up the top. That's it. There we go, now you can do your stirrups. Can't you? Yes? You come and hold him then. That's it, good girl. Wrong hand. That's it. Well done. Okay, well done everyone. Make much of your ponies. They've been quite good. Okay then Robin, if you'd like to come on out. And then Laura and Kirsty. Oh, I see. Oh, right. No excuse to fall off though. No excuse.
Can I get some super glue?
Yes, yes. Lovely. Okay, right, come up for now. No, don't move. Okay, did very well apart from that. Oh, Silver. Do you want me to contact him? Yeah, can you give a hand with Sierra? Right. Oh, you can do him then. Yeah. Has he been used again? I don't know. You finished eating my food. And I will help Kirsty with Fella. I know. Okay? Should we go and take Fella over here then? Yeah? There's another head collar. Off you go. Oops, don't let him knock you out. That's it, just walk on. That's it. Hey! If we go over here, look. That's it, don't let him bite your hand, will you? Oh! Okay, just hold there. Alright, now do you want to put the reins over his head? Have you untapped a pony before?
No.
Do you want to learn?
Yeah.
Okay, what we do, first of all, put the reins over the head, yes? And just pop the head collar. Ooh, where is he? Round his neck, because you've got to take the bridle off, haven't you? Hmm? Okay, so just pop it round his neck. Now you come over here. Now you've got to undo 2 things. That one. Yes. And that one. Okay, that's the noseband and that's the throat lash. So we undo those 2. Okay, then you can actually take the bridle off. So the reins come up towards the ears. Come over here. Go under the rope. Oh, knock you out. Okay, can you reach up this high?
Yes.
There we go, both hands. So it won't hurt you. Okay? And gently lift the bridle off. There we go. And hold it like that. On your shoulder. That's it. Oh, and then we've got to put the head collar on him, haven't we? So he doesn't escape. Okay, now you can come round and take the saddle off. It'll be fun, won't it? The saddle's heavier. Okay, so come back round here then. He keeps trying to eat you, doesn't he? And what you do, you lift this up. Yes? And lift that one up. Okay, if I do the first one, because it's a little bit tight and tough. Okay, can you undo that one? If you can't, I'll help you. Right up. Right up. Ow, fella. There we go. Yes? Then we've got to bring the saddle off. There we go. There we go. That's it. Well done. All right, come to the front, never go behind. That's it, don't let him bite you. Okay, well done, good girl. Okay, should we go and put it in the tack room now? Is it heavy? Hold it with 2 hands. That's it, good girl, well done. Don't drop it, will you? Oh, come on then. Because he's a pony, he goes into another tack room. Okay?
These older people that have given me, I believe, a good education with the horses, and I've been absolutely dedicated, as I was in the motorcycle world, that has taught me what I know today, if you like. But take note on when the platting starts and that, and on these horses, not this one because it's a young animal. As you see, he was messing about quite a bit until I come to his head, but now he's quieting down. With an animal, a young animal, you must always be firm, but be kind. No good being cruel to them, because they'll remember that, but put them in their place just like a young child, and hopefully they'll grow up respecting you, and that's what you want, respect, and then he'll do what, within reason, he'll do what you want him to do. There's so many things I see going on today with all kinds of horse people that I disagree with, and they wonder why they don't get the best out of their horse. Well, usually it's because they haven't had the proper education in bringing the animal up from young. You're firm and kind with him, he'll usually end up doing what you want him to do. And you'll end up with a good animal at the end of the day. This day is actual fact. The horsemen want to bring the horses to you, the public, and want to get you involved, come amongst us, have a go, talk. If you've got any questions, ask us. But above all of you that want to have a go today, get out there and drive one. You'll probably not get the opportunity again, especially driving 4. I know there has been a queue to drive them, but I'm sure before the end of the day, Mr. Coffin out there will let you have a go. And say, when he's finished this one, we'll then have him up through the middle of the school. I'll try and show you how to show a horse properly. So often today, we go to horse shows, and apart from the first 2 or 3 at the top of the line, the rest of them haven't got a clue how to show a horse properly. And so often, the judge's eye is looking all the time, because it's not finished until those rosettes are handed out. I mean, I judge, I have judged at quite a number of shows, even county shows, and I don't make my mind up right to the last minute. So often you can have a horse standing first, but you're looking at the second and third, and all of a sudden you think, well, I don't know, that one can just beat that one, and you change them round. And usually it's your professional men, people like Pat Flood from Colite, Peter Riseborough from Vasses, used to be Harry Ransom from Young's Brewery, Courage's, Jim Lockwood. They are professionals. They've been trained by the right men, and they are standing there with their horse as it should be stood. That's what a judge can't keep his eyes off of. The gentleman that just goes in willy-nilly, lets the horse's head hang down all over the place, not stood properly on his legs, that don't look right at all. This young man here, in my opinion, has threw more championships away this last year than I like to believe. Now, I've told him when he's come out of the ring, Parky, you haven't got a bloody clue how to show that horse. And honestly, that's what done it. Because this is a hell of a good animal. But again, it's experience, and you need experience to do the job properly. So,
He's my Porsche car, this.
I'll just, you stand by his head, Mark. I'll just leave you for a moment now, make sure everything's okay outside. And then, when this one's ready to be shown, as I say, I'll go through all the points on the Shire with you, and tell you what you should look for when you're looking at a good horse. Now, that will apply to any horse. I'll go from ears right the way around the whole lot of it. And then, hopefully, I'll show you how to show an animal properly. So that you'll go away from here today, I hope, knowing a little bit more than when you arrived. Anyway, enjoy what's going on, and Jumbo will keep you talking and occupied, but
Just before he goes, ladies and gentlemen, let's have a little rip off of Phil, because it's his effort to put it. You can see Elliot likes a bit of a rip off. Well, the first tail, Barry's finished the first tail there, you see. plaited in with a raffia, and he actually turned the tail up. Those of you who are watching, turned the tail up through the tail, tied it off with the lace there, and you can see that in a working situation, if you're behind the horse, there's much less chance of that getting caught over the rein than there would be with a fully grown tail. Different decorations, different parts of the country, or different horsemen. Different horsemen have different ideas on what they like. Some horsemen can turn the tail up even further. Obviously, you're governed by the fleshy part of the tail, so with this one it can't go any. That's it. That's as far as it goes. Some horses can go up slightly more. Some actually put sort of a rosette arrangement in with the raffia. Barry finished off with the raffia sticking up like that. Different parts of the country, again, different sorts of harness as well. The head collars that the horses wear, which you'll see later on when we harness up, are very, very different down here than those that are worn up north. I don't quite know why. I suppose it's grown up over the generation. And the decoration, again, you go to different parts of the country, the decoration is very, very, very different. Down in Cornwall and up in Scotland, they decorate very heavily with floral type decoration. Here in Hampshire and in the south, we tend to concentrate on the brass side of things. But you will find that all the brasses on the harnesses that we have, or all the straps that the brasses are on, I should say, at some point do serve a purpose or have served a purpose. Obviously, when a horse goes into the show ring, they put on all the best harness, all the best leatherware, and all the best brasses. But all of the bits of leather that brass is hung on does serve a purpose in its working role. So it might look very, very pretty, but those pieces of leather actually serve a purpose. Maybe not working here today, you may not see that particular strap being used as it was originally intended to be used, but I can assure you that they are. And the judge, again, in a harness class, which is the class where the horse and the harness is judged, a judge will take into account, obviously, the overall look of the thing, but they will also take into account the fact that the straps that are decorated are working straps, not just hung there to make the horse look pretty. They may not be being used in that situation, as I say, but they do, at some point in the horse's working life, serve a purpose. Barry's on there. The second horse is clapping up again. You can see he's well on with that one. Bob, our society photographer here, checking things out, making sure it comes up to standard. Obviously he does because he's getting his camera out. But Barry will be doing the mains in a minute. And as Phil said, if you'd like to come up on the stool with Barry during the day, have a look how it's done. Those of you ladies who are fortunate enough to have long hair and plait hair, you can come up and have a go on the horses. I think you'll find it's very, very different, not quite as easy. I've been involved now with heavy horses, only involved. I haven't got horses. I've got very little knowledge of the horses apart from that I've learned from my good friends in the heavy horse world. But I do love the animals, I always have done. I, in actual fact, spent short time working with the circus, and we had a very, very beautiful Shire horse called Oliver working with us there, doing a Shetland pony and Shire routine, heavy horse routine. Beautifully cared for animal, and he, funny enough, turned up about 7 miles from my home on a farm. The chappie who owned the circus, in actual fact, unfortunately went bankrupt, Jerry Cottle. I expect most of you have heard of him. And he unfortunately went out to the Far East with his circus and didn't get paid, and of course he had to move on all these various animals. But Oliver, as I say, suddenly turned up at a farm about 7 miles from my home, and I'm sure he recognised me before I recognised him. I went on to this particular farm. I walked into the farmyard and the stables were on the right-hand side, and all of a sudden there was a terrific kicking at the door, and the Shire head appeared over the top of the door, and this animal was obviously excited about something, and I couldn't quite make out what it was. And it wasn't until about an hour later when I was talking to the farmer that I realised which horse it was, and he'd recognised me, and that was, 8 years previously when I'd last seen him. But we've obviously continued our friendship now. And just one little thing, I know perhaps I shouldn't say it here, but I do feel that circuses get an awful lot of bad publicity, but all I can say is that the friends that I have in the circus world do care for and look after their animals well, and that's all I'm prepared to say. That I can only speak as I find. Back to the heavy horses. Barry's working well.
Yeah,
nearly down to the end, and you'll see how he turns in a minute. You'll see how he turns the tail back and threads it through, and then he'll start on the mane on one of the horses.
Jumbo?
Sir.
Show.
Right now, Elliot here, Mike's There are, you see Mike's finished his tail end. He's got a nylon cord plaited strap there which he's brought in, the two tails there, and the ribbons Mike uses yellow and red as their colours. And Mike now feathering or talking the feather. This is used in a show situation, cleans up the feather, makes it stand out nice and white. In a showing situation, the judge will take into account the fact that the feather is cleaned before the talc is applied. Trying to use talc as a cover-up for a dirty feather won't get you through.
It would be cleaner than this normally.
And Mike's saying they would be cleaning this normally in a show. Well, I think Elliot's a credit to you, Mike, and credit to you both. I fell in love with him a long time ago. But it's very, very difficult this time of year, of course, when the horses are out, to keep the feathers clean. Much easier, I was going to say much easier in the summer. Knowing the British summertime, I'm not so sure about that either.
A year ago, we used to have, this, what I'm doing now, you wouldn't ever be able to do with this horse because he would be just walking backwards and forwards all the time. I mean, it's incredible that he's so quiet now. And it's rather frightening, because I can stand and I'm not worried at all about standing behind him. And as you know, everybody tells you never to stand behind a horse, but you can always tell with him because if he's going to do anything like kick or whatever, he'll shift his weight and then he'll let the one leg go. But as he's standing now, he can't do anything unless he lifts his rear end to kick, so you know that he's not going to kick, you see. But he,
And as I say, Elliot's done marvellously well in the shows in his very short lifetime, and I say the culmination of which was the reserve champion at Salisbury Show. And the reserve champion, all the horses in all the classes are taken into consideration for that, so the whole heavy horse entry at a show is taken into account when you pick a champion. And to be reserve champion at a show, the standard that Salisbury set, it's the heavy horses have only been back at Salisbury Show for 3 years, but they've set a very high standard in the entries that they attract. And to become reserve champion this year is a great, great credit to Elliot and his master and mistress. Barry there just putting the tail through now, as you can see, pulling it through. And you'll see he'll take the lace both ways and tie that off. And then Barry will go off and get the plaiting put into the mane.
We'll see how I'm going to try and play him, but what it'll be like in this.
Yeah, Mike's saying he's going to try and flat Elliot. It's something new for Elliot. I mean, it's something new for a young horse to go out into the show situation. This again is something completely different. I doubt whether Elliot's done anything with the public gaze on him inside a school before. Probably the only building he's ever been in is a barn or his own stable. He's doing marvellously well. He's never ceased to amaze me, certainly through the season, watching him wherever he goes.
He's rubbed all his mane off.
And as Mike said, he's rubbed a lot of his mane off. The horses, when they rub, they tend to pull the long hairs out, which makes it very, very difficult to do the plaiting. Barry's there, just finishing that one off. I want to trim up with the scissors. And for those of you who perhaps weren't here when we started, the two here, the Clydesdales, are in actual fact the pair that won the World Ploughing Championships when they were held up in the country last year. Mike's just going to... plaiting stool, Mike's moving in there. You'll probably find that when Mike gets up there and gets steady, Elliot will probably walk away and we'll be picking Mike off the sawdust. But
we were at a show, Southern County show in Sussex, and he came round and knocked me off the stool, and they gave me 9 for style, actually, 9 points for style. Yeah, were you there? Unbelievable. So I'm pretty good as well, actually. I can play squash well now, and I can do so many things. Problem with him at the moment is he's rubbed the back of his mane off because he likes to have a tickle, you see. And he finds the best tree in the field, and he gets underneath it, and he'll take all his mane off. He's very clever because as soon as I start to plait, he'll move his head further over, as you'll watch, or else he'll just walk round against the wall. This horse is, as I said, 2.5 years old, whereas these are about 10, I think.
Yeah, 10 year old.
Well, we usually use about 10 of the flyers. We call these flyers, which we make ourselves, and we put about 10 in. But really, what you're supposed to do, you should accentuate the horse's neck, which is, if you read all the books, you're supposed to try and make it. He's been gelded. If he was a stallion, he'd have a much rounder neck. But we had him gelded when he was just over a year old, because to be honest with you, he was like a Porsche car when you were taking him about. He was a bit and he used to take me out for the field instead of me taking him out. But the fact is, what you try to do, which I'm not so good at the moment, but Barry I know is, you try to make the neck look arched as you're plaiting it. But it's rather difficult because you've got to keep all the pieces together in your hand, and then you've got to enter the big flyer in at the same time, which does become quite difficult actually. It's all right if you've got a quiet horse, but if you've got a horse, and also you're always doing it against the clock. You get up in the morning at say 5 o'clock and you try to get him ready, and then you've got to be at the show by say 10, and you might be 2 hours driving before you get there, and if he's not cooperative, you're always running against the clock trying to do it, and that's when he gets told off slightly.
The colour scheme is the horseman's own preference, and you will see that there are different colour schemes here today. And you will see that on some of the horses that are out there working, they've actually got ear caps on. Now these are caps which fit over the horse's ear like a sleeve. They're decorated in the horseman's own colours, but they do serve a practical purpose. Again, it's going back to what I was saying about harnessing. They look very, very pretty, but they do serve a purpose. When a horse is working in the hot weather and they're sweating a lot and there are a lot of flies about, a good working horse takes 90% of its control from the horseman's voice, not from his aids, from his ropes, from his reins. And obviously if you've got flies buzzing around in your ears, or you know yourself, if you're working in the garden, you've got flies buzzing around, you're not really concentrating on what you're doing, you're more worried about getting the flies away. Well, with the ear caps, the cap completely encases the ear, the flies can't get into the ear. So they serve a purpose, but obviously over the years they've become decorated in the colours that the horsemen choose for their various situations. But they do stop the flies going into the horse's ears when they're hot, and they can concentrate on the word of command from the horseman. Mike there with his red and yellow.
Normally what you do is put a bit of raffia in the top to be able to tie the head of the plait, so that because the horse always goes down with his head, and you'll try and pull it out if you can. I've been very lucky to be taught by Barry and people. I've never plaited before in my life, not even my children's hair did I ever plait, so I've had to learn everything, whereas with a woman I should think that that's a lot easier because they know how to plait beforehand. The problem is that you've got to make sure that the hair is plaited in with the actual plait, with the actual wool. Hey, come on. And he's not the best of horse to plait because he's
only young.
Come on, you. Although to be quite honest with you, he is actually fantastic at the moment. You would never believe it.
Coming down now to going onto the ground floor, two of the horses from the high field stable, falling for three of them, three there. You can see the ear caps there with the yellow bottles on. You can see them wearing those ear caps. And that's what those caps are for, to stop flies getting into the situation. There's the bar there, the bar there, and there. I think we put 300.
Hey, come on, get up.
We did do one evening event up at Scotland, up near Liverpool actually. First time we'd ever done anything like it in Scotland. We had it all harnessed up, we opened the doors at the end, and you played the furrow up and played the furrow back and went straight in. In actual fact, the gentleman didn't mind at all, but it is very difficult because to give a good demonstration of ploughing, you need good soil rather than sort of give a sort of second-rate demonstration of a situation like this. We not too try. But there are ploughing matches around the country, heavy horse ploughing matches that are becoming more common. Heavy horse entries at ploughing matches in general are becoming more common. So if you do want to see horses working on the ground,
I know that I've got a fly on me even.
and you can see Mike now, he's got the third flyer in there.
And what I try to do, if
Fourth one just going in.
on how the horse is, we try to, what you should do.
And Elliot's doing marvellous, can't get over it. Behaving himself very, very well.
It's not as easy as it.
If any of you youngsters want to come and speak to the other two horses, well, Elliot's being platted up. You can come through now and have a word. Anybody wants to come and have a stroke? Anybody with youngsters wants to come and say hello to the horses? You want to come and say hello? Well, come on. Yeah, come on, young lady. Come and say hello to them.
What's it called?
Duke and Jim. I'm not sure which is which. Duke and Jim.
Are you Jim? Or are you Jim? Come on.
His hair is, not very much of them.
Okay.
He's actually, honestly, I mean,
Horse always smell your breath. It's not.
you are really, I'm doing this quite quickly. I mean, if you look at Barry's legs, exaggerated, there'll be no hair showing.
Basically, if you just breathe around the horse and if the horse likes your breath, accepts your breath.
But I'm not as good as
But an animal can smell fear. That's the thing. That's what they're looking for. Yeah. Well, if you're scared of something, your glands produce a fluid, and the horses can smell that, or any animal can smell that. I mean, we did that when I was in the circus. I went in the lion's ring with one of the trainers once, and they knew I was frightened. I mean, if I wouldn't have gone in on my own, but they accepted me because he was there. But they knew. They knew I was frightened.
It really does disappoint me at times, but although he does show me in many ways, it's frustrating.
Which way do you mean? Instead of turning it in. Oh yeah. There, you turn it in.
I tell you what, the main thing is have a go with Barry's horses, because they're also the biggest thing is with these horses. They are gentle. I mean, there is no doubt that when you look at thoroughbreds and so forth, they are gentle. But even so, you've still got to treat them all with respect.
Yeah.
We were very lucky to be shown by Mr. and Mrs. Webb from the...
Let's see. I don't want to wait till they all get ready. No, I think we should go.
Alongside him, and you don't say anything. You just walk up alongside him, and you pat him, and he suddenly does that. If your foot happens to be under his foot, he won't move. He'll stay there, and you're stuck. He wouldn't do anything vicious, but he'll stay there. And if a tiny foot's under a horse's foot, I can assure you it's difficult to get him here. So basically, always approach the horses, not only with horses, but of course heavy horses, especially with the blinkers, but any animal, always approach them where they can see you. However gentle the horse is, dog's the same. However gentle an animal is, if something comes up alongside him that he's not sure of or he hasn't seen it coming, he might start, or in the case of a dog, he might nip. Wouldn't do any harm to a fly, but he's just not sure of where whatever it is has come from. So the horses out on the field you'll see are wearing blinkers, so if any of you youngsters are going to speak to them, go round to the front, let the horse see you, and then walk up to him and tickle his nose. Yeah, lady's asking if Elliot's fully grown yet. No, he's not. He's going to be a big boy when he gets older. Yeah. Yeah, Suffolk, mind you, having said that, the Suffolk body tends to be a barrel body anyway. The Suffolk will look a lot heavier because it's deeper in the actual body's deeper. Stockier leg and much thicker. Yeah, it was probably over the top. And it's probably not, just hasn't been worked off, that's all.
No, these were so slender, I wanted to sort of kept in, and they were on hard food.
No, it's just because they're...
Is that where one come off it?
I don't think Mike and his good lady will. I mean, they just fell in love with the thing. And it's like getting a dog, and they fell in love with it, and the showing was the last thing on their mind. They just wanted a horse.
Yeah.
And it's just lucky that they were very, like Phil was saying, they're just very lucky that they've got a horse that they've got.
It's been castrated now.
I don't know, but it hasn't been cut yet.
Sorry, yeah, he
has
has.
been cut,
Well, that's what I say. He used to take me out to the field. I mean, he was rather a bit, we used to pirouette out for a long time. He used to try and bite me, lift me off the ground.
Yeah.
I wondered if I'd done the right thing, truthfully, when I bought him. Because I was rather frightened of him then,
I was saying that as it's done so well, I was wondering if you'd regretted that.
Well, yes and no. I don't regret it because I would never have ever been able to keep him as a stallion. Perhaps somebody like Phil would have loved to have had him as a stallion. But my own self, it would be, well, I just wouldn't be able to keep him. And I mean, he's our pet. I mean, he's not really a horse as such to us. He's our pet, and I don't think then that I would be so disappointed to see him riding with somebody else, and I wouldn't be able to own him. And we'll have him for all of his life, I can assure you. You know.
What's going to happen basically, ladies and gentlemen, at 1 o'clock, because it's Remembrance Sunday, we haven't forgotten. We're having our event on Remembrance Sunday, so if you'd all like to join us at 1 o'clock outside with the horses in the field, we'll have a short silence to remember those folks who are unfortunately not with us. And I would like to point out that during the First War, which is included in the Remembrance Sunday, many, many heavy horses died, as well as the people that we know and loved and our families. So there is a link. It may only be a tenuous link, but there is a link there, because during the First World War, heavy horses were the main form of traction for our lads when they were out in France. The Percheron and the Ardennes breeds, which I mentioned to you earlier, were first discovered, well, not discovered because they were out there for many, many years before, but they were first noticed by our people out in that situation, dragging guns and limbers around in the mud, out in those battlefields in France. And from that sort of knowledge that was gained, people after the war settled and said, you know, do you remember those horses? And from there, the French breeds have been brought into this country because they're such marvellous animals to work. But that'll be at 1 o'clock out in the meadow. We'll stand with the horses and just have a minute's silence. As I say, we haven't forgotten it's Remembrance Sunday, and we wouldn't like you to think that we had. So Mike will carry on platting here, and then Phil will come back in here after the minute's silence, and we'll do the showing demonstration, showing how to show a horse. And there's nobody better in this country to show you than Phil. As Phil said, many of the older horsemen he's had the pleasure of knowing, as have I, and we've gleaned an awful lot of knowledge from them. And without folk like Phil learning from the older people, the heavy horse world would slowly fade away. The actual working side of the heavy horse world would disappear, and we don't want that. None of us want that. All of us that are here today, you'll find, are intent on keeping the heavy horses going in all their roles, the show side as well, but in their working role as well. So there we are. There's Elliot with his flyers up. As you can see, as Mike said, the flyers accentuate the horse's neck, shape of the horse's neck and curve. The colour scheme picked by the owners. The wool plaited in there.
You'd have it as well. Mane here anyway.
Yeah, Mike's run out of mane basically because, as we said earlier, Elliot has rubbed his mane. But beautifully turned out there.
Years ago, in the books, I've read many books, and they used to plait, just to make the horse's neck look bigger, they used to plait another piece of raffia like this, actually inside the actual neck of the horse's mane, and then plait on top of that, and then the horse's neck really, and they used to get, if they didn't get found out, you know, they'd win prizes for it, you see. Come on, you.
Where do you go? There's a camera wheel like this. You've got to be careful who you win, haven't you? And what you're doing.
Come on. He wants to get the beef burger.
Well, yes, who you
well.
with, yeah.
Yes.
It's on Phil.
I knew it wasn't long. Hello, Alex. No, this is for Phil.
No, get
the wrong one.
One little.
One good.
There you go. Onions on a hot dog? On bacon roll?
Who?
Right, you got bacon roll on. Do you want onions with bacon stew?
Oh, I don't know.
Look at that, they're nice and crispy.
Oh, crispy bacon.
See if they fit. There's so many cuts and so many lids.
Oh, thank you. There,
Remembrance Day, Mr. Jumbo Wirram here will say a few words about it all. Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know where you got the wearing bit from.
Well, I don't know.
It's Jumbo.
Jumbo, yeah.
The idea of today is for you to meet these beautiful animals, but we must remember that we are here on Remembrance Sunday. And Remembrance Sunday, as you know, is to think of those who we lost in wars. Many of our families went over to France to fight, and most of the transport and movement of equipment in that particular conflict was done by heavy horses. So there is a link between us being here today and Remembrance Sunday. And because of the work that the heavy horses did in the First World War, many of our men came back and spoke of the work the horses had done, and hence the introduction into this country of the French breeds of heavy horse, because the horses that we used in France were of the Percheron and Ardennes and Belgian breeds. Unfortunately, we have on the Percheron side many Percherons in this country now. Not so many Ardennes, but just a coincidence, this year we have in this country the first two Belgian horses are up at the Heavy Horse Centre which Phil runs, so we now have representatives from all of the breeds. But on the horse side of Remembrance Sunday, ladies and gentlemen, I would just like to say they are our inheritance, we are their heirs. And if you'd like now, please, just to stand with me while we remember those who we lost in the conflict. Ladies and gentlemen, we remember them. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we shall remember them. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and please enjoy your day with us here with the heavy horses. Thank you.
Right, these will be going on as they have been done. Those who want to watch the show horses now inside.
I'm coming to you. Are you? I'm going to ask you how to get that. You're Mr. Tinson. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right. You come from Windsor. You come down the motorway, won't you? M3, M27.
M27,
Yeah. Come to Cadnam. That's right on the end of the motorway.
Wow. Did you get Nibber's shoes?
I told someone in the minute older. Go and have some dinner.
Mummy's 4.
Okay.
Mummy's 4.
Skateboard. Yeah. He will be.
So he's not doing my trip?
No.
Very nice, huh? You never pounded up down the fence. Got away from the Tory then, isn't it?
Stand. Stand.
I've not been taken off.
Yeah, you are, but don't worry about it.
Give us a kiss.
He was with me, but he's
Philip has just been out to say. So,
that's what's going there then, huh?
going and have a look. What have you done with the thermos in there?
They're in there, but I've locked the door. Do you want them now?
Well, no, when we go.
Oh, I'll make sure you get them.
Thank you. I'll take them all away. Have you?
Hey, Barrett.
Not for each one. This is between the two.
Yeah, let's put that on the middle.
Original harness. That is to say, none of it is reproduction stuff. It's all harness and brasses that was made years ago. And a single set of this harness, if I had to put a price on it, I would say if it went into an auction today, it would make at least £1,500 a set. It may even make more than that, but that is a price though. That's on good original harness. Right, that's the collar on in place. They now will put the backing on, the breeching and that as we call it, and this is what we call trace harness on these horses. Unlike if you were putting a horse into a wagon, which is what we call breeching harness, this is trace harness, what they go into chain harrows or pulling a plough. And Mr. Coffin now is putting on the breeching, which is at the back of the horse, up under the tail, and connected to the collar. This now is the girth going on now, which keeps that back strap down in place. When it comes to cleaning these sets of harness, one set of harness would take you about at least 6 hours to clean. Every buckle, brass, everything is all taken to bits before we go to a show, and every bit of it is cleaned individually. And that's how long it takes just to do one set. So you can imagine when we take a 4-horse team, we've got 4, 5 sets to do because we show single pair and then a team. You can imagine the time that's involved in doing all this. We're now putting the bridle on. Just put them over the ears first. You notice they leave the bit dropping. This is the correct way to put a bit in a horse's mouth. A lot of us don't bother. We have the bit connected up and then slip the bit in the mouth first, but that is not the correct way to do it. The correct way is as Barry's doing it now. Put the bridle over the ear, pull the hair out, and then usually do the throat lash up, and then put the bit into the horse's mouth. You'll find then that he'll stand perfectly still, and the bit won't hurt him in any way at all, and he's pleased to get the bit into his mouth. Like that. You see, it's easy. In case you're wondering why these brasses and that are put on a horse, well, they tell me that years ago, this was something like the gypsies bought this first in years ago. If they lived in a certain area in the country, they'd have a brass made to represent that part of the country. They've also obviously had brasses made for things like coronations and such likes as that. Important events to do the kings and queens over the years. But that's basically what it was bought in for. And now the horses are decorated, or the horsemen were very proud to decorate their horses in these brasses. And actually we're very lucky in the south of England because I believe that we've probably got some of the finest sets of harness that there is in the country today in the south of England. Travelling to all the shows, so from here right up to Scotland almost and down to Cornwall, the Cornish people have got a lot of decorated harness, but in my view it's very heavy decorated. You couldn't work a horse in the Cornish harness. They have hundreds of bells and all kinds of things all over their harness, and quite honestly, if you asked a horse to work in it after an hour, he would be tired out because of the weight of the harness and brasses on him. But this, what's going on this afternoon, is the correct amount of harness that a horse can go out and do his day's work. They wouldn't, obviously, if they were on a working day, they wouldn't bother with all these brasses. But when they went to a ploughing match or anything like that, the horseman would decorate his harness as it's being done today because he's proud to present his horse to the public that were coming to watch him. This are traces. Again, this is chrome traces, usually used for ploughing matches or showing. All our show people, I say that because I'm mainly a showman, we always use chrome trace chains, but on the farms or out working, obviously you wouldn't bother with chrome because today, especially the chrome's very soft that's put on today, nowhere near what like it was like years ago. And at the end of a season's hard work, my trace chains now, my show ones, were new at the beginning of the season, and now they look all rusty because the chrome is flaked off of them. When we come to clean these, one of the methods is that you clean every link with Brasso. When you do that, it will take you at least an hour and a half to do each chain. But a quick way of doing it is putting your trace chains into a copper of boiling water and fairy liquid. That gets rid of all the sweat and grease on the chains. Take them out when they're boiling hot and put them straight into wood flour, which is what we use on the horse's legs. That dries them out quick, and when you shake them out then, they usually come out something like you see today. But there are still people in the country, some of the breweries, where again money is no object, they can afford to pay a man 2 hours to clean one chain. Then they would do every link with a piece of cloth individually. And thinking about it, I think that is right. It's 2 hours to do one chain with all those links individually. And I think if you look in these chains, and these have been used all season at plough matches, quite honestly, it's a credit to Mr. Coffin to keep a set of chains all season like that. It's only hard work that does that. People to correct me because I don't know it all by a long shot. Oh well, oh no, they reckon another 10, 15 years, so it shan't be too bad. Again, what Barry's screwing on now is what we call terrets, or whatever. They would use these kind of things, again, for a certain area in the country, or bells, or anything like that. And again, what he's screwing on there now, I've seen at Reading sell make £50. Sometimes they make more than that, because that is genuine old brass, and they're very rare. There's not many of them today. If you didn't get them, you know, years ago, the modern ones today is nothing like the old original ones. I think you'll see Barry put some old bells in a minute. This really, if that's the word. These bells, a set of these bells, my daughter bought me a set of these, in fact, for a Christmas present last year, and a genuine, exactly the same as this here, and she paid £140 for a pair of those. So that was £70 each for one of these, and that's what they're worth today. Some of them I've seen at Reading make more than that, but that is a lovely set of bells. Barry, we got I'm going to do the other one. Yeah, we got to get over there in sort of 10 minutes because they're so booked up outside. Right, that's that horse done now, and he's ready. Obviously only one plough line on that one because we're putting a pair together. We're quickly going to do the other one now because unfortunately the indoor school here has got to be used in a minute for a riding lesson. We're so packed out today that they've got to use it because their horses don't like the heavy horses with all the rattling going on. So we'll harness this one up, but we'll have to go out into the big field to do the demonstration. But again, if you want to have a go out there, you'll be welcome to. on now is known as a martingale. One of those martingales like that in a cell could fetch 150, 250 and even 300 pounds I've seen them fetch with genuine brasses on. A lot of your pubs that you see nowadays have got a lot of these in, and a lot of the publicans go to the cells to buy these brasses. It's not just buying them and putting them up in their pubs. They obviously know they've got a good investment as well. Well, I always reckon you put a pair of horses on in about 20 minutes. Sometimes you do it quicker.
Oh, no, but no.
Yeah, by and large, about 20 minutes you got to sort of reckon on. Because I always like to finish, then look again to make sure I've got everything right. It's no good wishing you'd done that when you're out on the wagon and something goes wrong.
No, of course.
If you get everything right from the start, usually nothing goes wrong. It sounds, I know, a lot of money, but that's what they fetch today. So if any of you have got any at home, in your trunks or up in the attics, at least it's given you an idea today what you can expect for it. And there's plenty of horsemen to buy it these days.
You've got that on, yeah?
One of the gentlemen that sells all these brasses, and it's a very good ambassador to our cause, if you like, is Mr. Terry Keegan, which has got his stand here today. He does and still makes all these brasses today, and a lot of you, if you haven't seen his stand, Terry's on the right here as you go out. Go and have a look at all the different things he's got on his stand, because some of them are very nice indeed. There's a genuine pair at the sale today. Right, we've nearly finished now. Gentlemen, you might not know it, and I hope I don't embarrass by telling you that. The gentleman that was helping here at the front of this horse just now used to be in charge of the Courage's team years ago. He's now retired, but he was one of the best horsemen in the country. When we come together on a day like this today, all the heavy horsemen, in fact, come as a family. And it doesn't matter whether we get £1 or £10 out of the day, we all help one another. It's one of the rare things, if you're connected with the heavy horse world, it's one of the rare things that's left these days. We never worry about money, we worry about the cause that we are doing and the surviving of these heavy horses. 50, 60, even £70 at an auction is what they cost you today. Okay. What the old play like?
How long have they lived? 30 years? 20 to 30 years?
Well, we expect, between 20 and 30, but the average age, it's all according, really. It's like any animal. Sometimes, if you're in a show ring, they're inclined to put too much weight on them for a long period of time. And then if you do that, then sometimes they overmark them. Like any of us, really. But these are not young horses. One's 14, I think, Barry. Yeah. This one's 9. One's 14 and this one's 9. And they've ploughed every big ploughing championship in the country. And won pretty well all of them.
Early October, we travelled nearly 2,000 miles.
Yep.
Scotland, Wales,
all over the place, yep. Right, we're now going to put them on the chain, Harold, because I say we've got to get out of the school now. There's another lesson coming on in here. So these horses now will be on the chain, Harold, out in the big field.
You're going to pull the chain hands out, right?
Yeah. We've got some tie backs somewhere. Where are the tie backs? They're by the stable somewhere. I had them.
By the stable?
Why?
For the horseback.
Marky, yeah, can we get the stool, and because they got a lesson here, a stool on that trunk got to go out.
Right, you go.
Hold still.
Mind that.
Right, they'll be coming out through this door now, so if we can all clear the school, please. No, I wouldn't frighten them today. We'll do him with long legs. Yeah, okay, you're all right. He's going to get your tie back. Yeah. Just come up to the horseman and ask him.
After seeing these minutes, did you write it?
Yeah, what? You see? When you go away.
Trying to fill this, I'm perfect right or not. Oh, they'll be alright then. They'll be excited.
I put the brass in my motor.
Good. Yeah, as long as it's somewhere safe.
I put the other box in there. If I go for you.
No, there's nothing in there. There's nothing in there.
Where do you want it put? Down your motor?
Yeah. Just that little box has got some more brass.
Yeah, I'll leave it in my motor.
Yeah, stop.
Pair up here for you, do you want to go?
Let it go. Don't let anybody out these buckets. What are you doing? What are you doing? What's that? I usually put this one on, oh Jim. My legs, there was smoke coming out of my boots just now. Don't mind yourself, leave this on there.
Wait.
said he'd have a go. He said there's a collar and the boat wagons.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you'll try it. Yeah. Yeah, don't you know, don't get him excited though. It's raining. That's all he wants. Not long. Yeah. Yeah. No, I haven't got that. That's only Bridge and I got, so. No, it's marvellous. They get used to your voice. If you slap someone else on, then you're confusing them all and ever, really. With the race, it's pretty much the same. All right, some people might.
Yeah, I smile. You're on candy camera. We'll get this every day. Walk on.
When you get the big television cameras, you need something. You don't want anything going wrong there. That's the only bit I suppose when you get there, in case anything goes wrong.
Walk on.
Well, yesterday, through water, we had to do that snowboard facility. We were flustered by carriage, and then we as I'm told by Barry, some of them do, but woes more commonly used.
Good boys. I've obviously got the right tone.
You certainly have. Got on the go great then.
I enjoyed that. Thank you.
But,
Oh well, we're back in one piece.
come on, Rita.
What do you think is? Oh,
dear.
you could do that.
Well, I suppose I could. Give you a lift, shall I? Thanks.
You can have a go behind the others.
Don't think so, Peter.
No.
Yeah.
No, I value myself more than that.
Oh, thanks very much. Cheers.
Thank you for that lovely drive.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Yo. Let's see them.
I'm going to tell you this.
Watch your back, please. Mind your back. Stand still, Jack. Do you want me to get on the other side? Might be easier for you.
Oh, you stay there where you are.
Touchy. These ones might not like it as well.
Mind your back.
That's it.
Coming through.
Just let him know you're coming.
Are they supposed to be Scotch, ain't Charlie, or Canadian?
You always look for your line that you're going for. It makes things much easier because you can follow your own line then.
I think that wheel's going to touch it.
Nah, you'll be alright then. If you've got your own line, then you're not forever going from one side to the other sort of thing, and they settle down much quicker. fine. You don't have to yank it around when you steer. They're not too bad actually. They're not brilliant, but they're not really.
How do you look, eh?
Thank you very much.
Come here.
I'll put a step up. Right. Yes, I did.
Walk on, boys. Come on.
Yeah. Oh, it's all right like that. It's when they get out of hand. You've got to know what you're doing, do you?
Those are mine that have been in those boxes 2 or 3 days. It feels. Walk on, boy. No, you just keep that. Walk on, boy. Walk on.
Saving in the family then for
Generation.
yeah.
Not much you don't know about it then.
No.
Mind you, with these, even with 2 on, if they started playing you up, you've got a real handful, haven't you?
Oh yeah.
You a lot of pull your arms out, mate.
Yeah. We always reckon that's what's the matter with that finger. That finger, look, I can't straighten him on the other one.
Yeah?
Yeah, is where we...
Where you got to go, right or left?
Well, you can go right-handed.
Go away.
Yeah, I'll turn them for you.
I'll do it if you want.
All right, then.
Unless I get out of that. You tell me when to start turning them.
Yeah, in a minute, then. In a minute.
You tell them to come on round here.
Yeah, in a minute. Right, pull Fred, that's this one. Look, come round. That's it. That's it.
Go on, come round, boys.
Put it off. Never had him tied like this.
No?
No, never. He wouldn't know how to anyway, not tie him up like that. No. Actually, this is the first time they've been driven like this.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I know that.
Yeah, like that. Like the cross and everything. Yeah, I'll tell him the horse tonight. Yeah, yeah. Whoa, 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 boys. There you are, Peter.
Thank you, Charlie.
Yeah, that's all right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, lovely.
Alright, great.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, taking pictures, spots and all.
Oh yeah, that's yeah.
Thanks very much.
Yeah.
See it all on film there.
Yes, lovely. Yes. Yes.
Best ploughman in the country, horseman.
Come around here. Steady. 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 Walk on. Steady. Walk on. Steady. Walk on. God. Good off. Steady. 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 Walk on. Steady. Don't put that in goal. What you want to do is you get up there and go up and down there, Phil.
Yeah, keep it as long as I don't get anybody else's way.
No, get up that end and go up and down there.
Keep away from the...
Yeah, I tied them back anyway. They'll go all right.
Said they wanted order. Come on then. Already shut the lorry, Charlie, for 12 hours, that's all. Put them down the motorway.
Alright, that's right.
Alright?
Yeah.
Who's the reason? Who's going to teach me how to do it?
That's Phil Ball.
There's Phil Ball, eh? He's over by the bar.
Go next.
Yeah, I bet he will.
Charlie, let this young man have a go.
Tell me what to do.
I'm not going to tell anybody what to do.
You know, you go on.
Go on, look after the coach.
What's raining down the other end of the field?
Walk on. Come on, boys. Get on. Come on. Go on, Sharon. Get on. Walk on. Ready. Turn off. You can have a go in a minute when I come back. Come on. Walk on. Walk on.
Yeah. Just got to keep the pressure up all the time, I bet.
Yeah, because he bores on a bit, so
Yeah.
you keep him back, look,
Yeah.
and you'll be all right. Right?
Yeah. Now what about turning around the corner again?
Yeah, they're turning.
Really?
All right. Yeah. Steady, 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 steady. Don't let him run you. Ready? Pull this one. Pull this one out. Go on, Frank. Get on. Walk on, Sherman. Steady, steady, boys. Whoa, steady.